Today on Judge Faith. Upsets happen when the rental reeks.
It just smelled like a toilet. I mean, you know, the carpets were stained and stuff in certain areas, but it just, the smell was overwhelmingly horrible.
But who was the culprit?
There were a lot of stains prior to us moving in. In my defense, Christine never cleaned the house. I had to put away her dishes that were left in the dishwasher.
Did the house smell like weed?
Oh, wow.
And later.
It's an auction, okay? When you buy it as is. Okay, if there's food in it and you're ready to take it, guess what? We were obligated to either take the stuff out or she got a refrigerator full of stuff.
He's not telling the truth, Your Honor. Be careful, his nose is growing and it's heading your way. Get that gavel out, whack it down.
Faith Jenkins. Her distinguished legal career began when she graduated first in her law school class. She quickly became a tough New York City prosecutor and then a preeminent legal analyst on cable news. And now she's the judge in her own courtroom. Her cases are real and her rulings are final. She is Judge Faith. Plaintiff Christine Falsetti is suing her former tenants for $7,825 in back rent and damages to her vacation home. Defendants Katie and David Brannon say their former landlady is exaggerating the damages.
Remain seated and come to order. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Faith Jenkins presiding. Your Honor, this case is Falsetti versus Brannon and Brannon.
Thank you, Barbara. Christine Falsetti?
Yes.
You are suing the defendants Catherine Brannon and David Brannon for $7,825 for back rent and damages to your vacation rental property?
That is correct.
Okay, how long did the defendants live in your property?
Almost 6 months, 5.5, 6 months.
And did they sign a lease?
Yes, they did.
Do you have a copy of it?
Yes, I do, ma'am.
Can you describe your property to me?
Yeah, it's about 2,200 square feet. It's a 3-level home, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, vacation rental in the mountains. Beautiful view of the trees and mountains up there.
And that's here in California?
It's here in California, that's right. It's in the Sierra Nevadas.
How did you meet them?
So I was up there just getting it ready. We had some people who wanted to rent it for actually the season because it's a big ski place there, and they were looking at renting it from November through April for $12.50 a month. And so I was getting it ready, and I went in to have breakfast at this place in town, a cafe, and I met the defendant. She was my waitress, actually, there.
Okay.
And I saw her there with her family, and I started a conversation with her, and we got to just talking about where do you live around here and stuff, and she happened to mention that they were looking for a place. I asked if they could pay $12.50, and she said not necessarily, so we were like looking at how we might be able to accommodate, you know, rent at a different level.
And you eventually agreed on a rental price of what for the home?
Well, for $12.50, but I would give them $200 a month credit in terms of taking care of the house and maintaining stuff.
Okay, and where were you living prior to moving to this home?
We were living right across the street from where we used to work. It was a small 1-bedroom. The landlord that we were going through at the time there was selling his home, so we had 30 days to find something else and get out.
So the two of you were working at the same location at the restaurant?
Yeah, he was the breakfast chef and I was the head waitress.
Okay, and how long have the two of you been married?
We've been married 3 years, but together 8 years.
Okay,
total.
how old are you?
21.
And how old are you, sir?
22.
So what happened when the defendants moved into your home?
They moved into our home, and things seemed great. Their grandmother, who's also on the lease, actually made the first payment and paid the deposit.
She co-signed for them?
She co-signed, yeah.
Okay.
She's on the lease as well. And she made the payments and stuff, but then within the first couple of months of them moving in, they started having some problems making the rent, being late with the rent payments, I think as early as November. They were on time in December, but then in January again, there were problems. She called me and let me know she lost her job.
In my defense for being late, we were going through a system where I went through my bank. I sent my money online to them. Well, it was already in my bank, and they sent the check, basically. I'm not sure what it's called. Christine was the one who had gotten me.
And it takes up to a week.
Okay, so it's some type of bill pay service through your bank?
Yeah, you go through, you tell them.
Okay, so you understand that if your bank is late sending checks to them, then you go get the money out of the bank and you give her a money order?
Yeah.
Okay, so what else happened?
Then she called me and said they wanted to move out in April 15th. And so we went in to look at the place.
So were they breaking the lease at that point?
What happened was I called Christine and let her know that both of us had been terminated from our job due to the fact that the restaurant was selling. So she agreed verbally to do a 6-month lease rather than a year.
So what happened when you went inside?
The main issue was that it just smelled like a toilet. I mean, you know, the carpets were stained and stuff in certain areas, but it just, the smell was overwhelmingly horrible. We tried to steam clean the place.
Did they have pets in the home? Were pets allowed?
They had 2 dogs, and you know, and it was fine if they wanted to bring them in the home, but it's not fine to use the home as a toilet for the pets.
Right.
And that's sort of what happened.
Wow.
I mean, if you could
Were the
just
dogs
walk
not
in,
potty trained?
They were.
They never really pottied in the house. They.
Well, she's saying that they did.
There were
and-
a lot of stains prior to us moving in.
Yes,
In my
there were.
defense, Christine never cleaned the house. I had to put away her dishes that were left in the dishwasher.
Go ahead and tell me what else you noticed about the damages to the apartment.
so then there were like bite marks and chew marks on the doors were ruined.
Do we have photos? Let's
part-
look at the photos.
Yeah, part of the carpet was missing. This is the house and when we originally rented the outside of the house. This is inside the house.
This was before?
Before, yeah. And then this is after they left. You started to see stains on the carpet. And to me, that's sort of minimal, the stains. It's the smell and the fact that when we pulled up the pad, you could see that it had been, like, there was pee and stuff there. And even we had to treat the underfloor. We could not get, I brought somebody else in to try and steam clean it. They couldn't get it clean, the carpet people. And then afterwards, they had
No,
the
you're
only-
not going to get a urine smell out of, if a dog
Well, evidently.
goes repeatedly to the bathroom on the
pad.
carpet, you're going to have a bad smell. You're going to have to replace it.
And then here on the, you can see where the dog chewed the side of the door and the
Did
door
your dog
jambs.
do that?
We have to
Yeah, I admit
replace.
it. I told her all that there was some damage she was going to find. I did not expect her to go in and find it in perfect condition.
And the toilet seat was just missing, so this is just
That fell off
small
right
thing.
when we got in. Right
And
when
I
we
did
entered the place.
contact and let you know about that.
And she said anything that breaks, she will cover.
Yeah,
She
in the
didn't
beginning,
care.
she was very great. It's like she wanted me to come in so she could almost do this,
She
but
understood what kids go through, and they make
'Cause she had
stains.
'em.
And then after that, she started blaming my kids about.
How many
the
kids do you
stain.
have?
I had-
3. Well,
How
at
old
the
are
time,
they?
only
At the time,
2.
there was 2 in the house.
Okay, so you had another child when?
Just recent in June.
3 months ago.
Okay, and when did you lose your job?
January.
Okay.
And then there was
What
we
is
don't
it? What is that? A
understand
pink? Why is
That
there a
was
pink
to
bulb?
support breast cancer in our
And
area.
she charged us $50 to change the bulb.
You charged them $50.
why. I had to have
for the
somebody
light
go
bulb?
out there, a handyman. We don't live up there.
It was
Well,
for
what's
breast
your
cancer.
issue with the pink bulb?
We didn't know it was for breast cancer. The other big issue was that the neighbors were all complaining because they were growing pot evidently in the house, is what they told me.
Oh,
and
so
they were
growing
selling
pot,
in the
wow.
house, and that they and then there were, and when we went back in, we found pot in the drawers upstairs.
Okay, so
We
were you
found-
guys growing pot in the house?
No, we weren't at all.
Are pink
Your
bulbs
Honor.
used to grow pot? Is
I
that
don't
what
know.
they told you?
That's what
I
I'm
have
wondering.
no idea. They told me it was a signal. That's what somebody said.
Did the house smell like weed?
Oh, wow.
It did smell like smoke.
Coming up on Judge Faith.
I have 3-year-olds, Christine.
You do have 3-year-olds.
Okay,
We had
then.
the place since the kids
Wow.
were 2. We bought it when my youngest
Okay.
was 2 and my oldest was 5.
Okay.
We have kids. We just don't let them evidently, destroy things.
Yeah, and I do.
And later,
I bid at the auction and I won the refrigerator. And I knew it was running because there was food inside the refrigerator and in the freezer.
She would have had to meet me in the Dominican Republic on Friday because right after the auction, as soon as I got my check, I bought an airline ticket.
plaintiff Christine Falsetti is suing for the damage she says the defendants caused to her home. Defendants Katie and David Brannon say the house was a mess when they moved in.
When she called you and reported the amount of damage she found in the home, you actually agreed to a payment plan.
Yes.
You told her she could keep your security deposit,
Well, which
and you
was
also
obvious.
agreed to make payments, correct? Okay, so what was the issue? What was the breakdown? Why haven't
When
you
I
paid anything?
received the paperwork and saw all the ridiculous things that she was charging me for and then trying to blame my children for a lot of the issues, that's when I put my foot
Okay,
down
first
to
of
that.
all, I didn't blame your children. And second of all, I just want to say you had the paperwork in April, and she
Yeah, that's
agreed to
when
make
I
a payment plan
received it.
even through May when I called her
I
back
didn't
and she
talk
said,
to you in May. That's
yes,
pretty
it's
funny.
recorded. And her kids did destroy stuff. I mean,
Let's
there's
get
other
to the
evidence
paint
in there
on-
that you're not
let's get to
showing,
the
but
paint
there
on
were
the
books
walls.
damaged, there was stuff, there was a whole
And like you
bookshelf and
said,
a bookcase
that's
that came
kids, right,
down and they
Christine?
took care of
You had
everything.
kids
and
and
they
you knew what
they
that
didn't
was
clear,
like.
everything up,
But
and
now
put
you
stuff
want to.
back.
I have 3-year-olds, Christine.
You do have 3-year-olds.
Okay,
We had
then.
the place since the kids
Wow.
were 2. We bought it when my youngest
Okay.
was 2 and my oldest was 5.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we have kids. We just don't let them evidently, destroy things.
Yeah. And I do.
Okay,
Evidently.
so
Critique my parenting. Go ahead.
well, I'm going to make a comment about the fact that you guys are so young, and you are clearly getting in over your head.
Definitely.
In some of these situations, you're renting out a home that you clearly don't look like you can afford, and then you're not really taking care of it in a way that you need to. I think the dogs use the bathroom on the carpet, like she said. Now, things like a pink light bulb and $50, I do think that that is excessive, but other photos that I'm looking at in terms of the damages, you all should have done a better job in taking care of her home. You're living in someone else's home, and I understand you have young kids. Well, first of all, I don't understand why you keep having children at this point when you really can't afford to live in a home like this. I mean, you guys need to be a little bit more responsible. You're 21 and 22 years old.
Because it's
you
my
already
life
have,
and I make my own decisions.
Well, it sounds like you need to take a little bit more responsibility for the decisions and the choices that you're making.
And I didn't try to avoid her.
And if you can't afford to pay rent,
It wasn't that
and
I
you
couldn't
can't
afford
afford
it.
to, well, you
I was
also
working a
missed.
full-time job and was affording it.
Listen,
I lost
listen
my
to what
job,
I'm
and that's
saying.
when I let her know.
I think the two of you need to be a little bit more responsible when you rent out someone's home. You come up with way too many excuses, and I'm going to tell you now at some point, you need to be an adult. You have 3 kids, you're going to teach them how to be responsible and pay their bills and respect someone else's property. You need to start doing that for yourself right now. Stop making up so many excuses. Based on what I've seen and the receipt submitted to the court, I am going to order you to pay the plaintiff $5,000 in terms of back rent and damages. I am going to deduct the security deposit from that amount. How much was the security deposit?
It's $2,250. So $2,250.
Judgment for the plaintiff in this case, you owe her $2,750.
Plaintiff Paula Powell is suing for $362 for the cost of a refrigerator and television she bought at an auction. Defendant Emil Ravenna claims she never took the items she purchased, so he's not responsible.
Paula Powell?
Yes.
You are suing the defendant, Emil Ravenna,
Yes.
for $362 for the cost of a refrigerator and small television you say you purchased at an auction but never took possession of?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, why don't you tell me what happened?
Well, I noticed in the paper that there was going to be an auction, and my new daughter-in-law moved into a house that had a very sad-looking refrigerator. I called the auctioneer, and he told me that there were appliances that were going to be sold at the auction. Apparently,
What kind of auction was it?
it was a personal auction. I guess the defendant and his wife are getting a divorce, so they were selling their possessions.
Okay, is that what happened?
More or less, yes.
Okay. And so are you familiar with auctions? Is this something that you do often?
Yes, I've been going to auctions since I was a little girl. I'm very familiar with the rules of the auction.
Okay, go ahead.
And I specifically came there to pick up this refrigerator, or whatever it cost at this point. And I called my daughter-in-law, and she met me at the auction. I arrived there. There were quite a few people there.
Where was the auction?
It was in their home.
Okay.
Next on Judge Faith, something's rotten in this refrigerator.
As far as the food in the refrigerator, I had no axe to grind there either because I was not still living at the house, okay?
Oh, so it's your wife's food you were throwing away?
Pretty much.
Oh, boy. Lovely.
Plaintiff Paula Powell is suing for $362 for the cost of a refrigerator and television she never received. Defendant Emil Ravenna says it was her responsibility to take the items with her at the time of purchase.
What made you come up with the idea to have an auction in your home, and how'd you go about setting that up?
Okay, well, as the plaintiff stated, I'm going through a divorce, and rather than going through the whole divide up everything, I came to the decision that we would just go on ahead and have an auction. So I went and did a search online and found several auctioneers in the area and made some phone calls. And the first auctioneer to call back right away, that's who we hired.
So what was your understanding of what would happen to items that the auctioneer marked to be sold at the auction, but no one purchased them or no one picked them up? What would happen to those items?
Those items that were purchased, that they're supposed to be carried away the same day. That was my understanding. That was the information that the auctioneer gave me. When people buy the stuff, they take it. And if they don't make a special arrangement with you, then they're going to be out of luck.
Tell me about what happened, your experience at his auction.
Okay, I looked at all the items and I bid at the auction and it won the refrigerator. I also purchased a very small television.
What size was the refrigerator?
It was a refrigerator freezer, 2-door.
Okay, so sort of a standard normal size?
Right, and I knew it was running because there was food inside the refrigerator and in the freezer, but I thought that was rather odd since they were selling everything. After the auction, I approached Mr. Ravena and I told him, I said, what are you going to do with the food that's in the refrigerator? Because they sold all the chests. And I was feeling bad, and I said, well, do you need a few more days? We made a verbal agreement to meet Friday at 7 o'clock.
What day was the auction on?
I'm going to have to interrupt, Your Honor.
Hold on 1 second. What day was the auction on?
The auction was on Saturday.
And you say you made a verbal agreement to meet him on Friday to pick the items up?
Yes, that would give him time to purchase.
She would have had to meet me in the Dominican Republic
here's the
on
problem.
Friday.
What do you say about that?
She would have had to meet me in the Dominican Republic on Friday because right after the auction, as soon as I got my check, I bought an airline ticket.
And you went on vacation.
Well,
you don't remember having this conversation with her? Is that what you're saying?
No, she got my phone number off the side of my truck. That's how we had a conversation.
My question to you is, she's at the auction.
Yes.
She says she goes to you and to talk to you and have a conversation with you about food being in the refrigerator. Do you remember having that conversation with anyone at the auction?
No. As far as the food in the refrigerator goes, that's irrelevant. I mean, it's an auction, okay? When you buy it as is, okay? If there's food in it and you're ready to take it, guess what? We were obligated to either take the stuff out or she got a refrigerator full of stuff.
He's not telling the truth, Your Honor. Be careful. His nose is growing and it's heading your way. Get that gavel out and whack it down.
What are the rules regarding whose responsibility it is once because you have proof that you paid for these items.
Yes.
And you pay who? The auctioneer, correct?
I paid
so
the
you don't give
auctioneer.
him money, you pay the auctioneer.
Correct.
How much total did you pay for the items?
$362.34, Your Honor.
Okay, what ends up happening is you go back and try to get the items and you say they're gone. And you never receive them.
He told me they were gone. And I made a telephone call to make sure Friday was still okay, because I could have taken it that day. I have a F-150 truck. I could have taken it that day.
Your Honor, I have my passport in my back pocket. I can show you the stamp when I arrived in the Dominican Republic. So in order for her to have met me on that Friday, she would have had to get on a plane and come to the Dominican Republic, and I don't think that was going to happen. As far as the food in the refrigerator, I had no axe to grind there either because I was not still living at the house, okay?
Oh, so it's your wife's food you were throwing away?
Pretty much.
Oh, boy. Lovely.
So here we are. We're at the auction on Saturday. Why do you come back the next day? Why wait all the way until Friday?
Well, I needed some strong brawn to help lift that refrigerator.
But she was able to take it the same day, she said.
Well, I could have taken it. I could have taken a couple guys, and being in the South, they'll be most happy to help a little old lady, as spunky as me, load up that refrigerator and put it in the back of my F-150 truck.
And now, Judge Faith rules.
Based on your experience, and you've been doing this since a kid, and you know what the rules are in terms of taking possession,
and you can make other arrangements.
And
I've done
I understand,
it many times, Your Honor.
Ms. Powell, I understand that, but in this particular situation, I don't have proof in front of me that an oral agreement was made. I just don't have the proof. I don't think that the defendant is just outright lying. He either doesn't remember or it didn't happen. And if he doesn't remember, I just have no choice but to rule for the defendant in this case. I'm sorry, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
If you or someone you know has a dispute, don't take the law into your own hands. Let Judge Faith rule on it for you. To submit your case, go to judgefaith.com and tell us your story. See you in court.